uploaded today. It's been wild. I could go into how wild it's been, but it's better I just get into the live here and hopefully get something out. Uh, Unbelievable. Apparently, there is something going on. This is the kind of thing that it's hard to wrap your mind around, and I'm talking about the Russian space nukes and why Christians aren't ready for a final deception. Let me explain. It is true. General Stephen Whiting, the head of U.S. Space Command, says the Kremlin could cause mayhem by interfering with civilian aircraft because Russia plans to put nuclear weapons in orbit. As if things aren't weird enough. For those of you who are just wandering in, my name is Ryan, the anomalous ambassador of the airwaves, broadcasting just south of Area 51 at the base at La Madre Mountain. Please head on over to heroparanormal.com and subscribe for more content. Or if you just want to support the podcast, keep in mind I've blown through 2 mics, or something has blown through 2 mics this week. It takes money to do. And if you want to support the podcast, head on over to happinessmedical.com and pick yourself up a tube of Spyce Natural Bronze. My wife invented it, brought it to market, formulated it. It's a great moisturizer. I use it everywhere I go, and it helps support the podcast, most importantly. Okay. So imagine you're watching the evening news and your favorite meteorologist suddenly stops mid sentence and starts to click, clack, chirp, talking in an alien language, pupils blown wide, and starts speaking fluent Romulan or a Mantis language. Well, this is almost like Revenge of the Body Snatchers. Pretend that a Mantis non-human intelligence has taken over your news person's vocal cords. That's not a crazy fever dream. No, that's the trailer for Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day. It is something that's coming out, and it is going to be a heck of a show from all looks at it. And what's funny is my mics have been glitching hard. I tried to go live earlier on my laptop, couldn't do it. It was glitching hard. My mic on my cell phone. Hey, how's it going, eTalkin? Glitching hard. And I finally went to somebody that's fixed it. So I'm going to use it while I can before it blows out. The screens on my car have gone all black. And some of the conversations I've been having with others out of studio have gone into some very dark places. And that might be the reason, or at least they allege this could be the reason. So, if you captured it this week, my mic glitching and speaking of things going haywire, my studio just cooked 2 mics in 72 hours. Is it coincidence? Or are we into something? Are the weeds a little bit taller than we expect? Is the pool a little bit deeper on this end than we would want? And are some conversations just not meant to be had out loud? I'm starting to think that's the truth. There's one movie coming out, Disclosure Day, one language that isn't human displayed on it, and one Pentagon program the DoD swears doesn't exist, and one ancient book that warned us this exact moment was coming. So let me break it down for you. Disclosure Day, Spielberg has, according to many in the predictive programming community, they believe he is a cinemagician, someone who might be getting hints from people with ties to intelligence or at least government contacts. I think that has been something that's been making the rounds on a lot of forums. And Emily Blunt plays a Kansas City meteorologist in Disclosure Day. She's on a live broadcast and she's suddenly possessed with dilated pupils and starts talking in a clicking language. Now, many contactees, abductees, and others have claimed that this is not just cinema tricks. This is not just Hollywood antics, that she is actually talking in the Mantis language that they have heard. And none other than Dr. Richard Boylan has alleged that this is the real language of these mantid beings, that there is an actual Mantis Code, actual message being put out in this trailer. So Dr. Richard Boylan posted that on X. And his analysis of the character and the classic signs, what he calls Estican or praying mantis humanoid language, he says that that's it. And he said that Esticans communicate via sharp staccato clicks and timing fields, that it's perfectly matched. Boylan notes that they influenced Earth languages long before the languages you and I speak came around. And keep in mind that certain tribes in southern Africa still talk with clicks. That is alleged to come from the classic signs of Estican, praying mantis humanoid contact, according to Dr. Richard Boylan. Now, this is pretty fascinating because it reminds me of a story in the Uinta Basin of Utah or close to it. It's there. I mean, it's technically, once you drop down out of Daniels, you're in the Uinta Basin of Utah. This was a story of a gentleman named Wizard Dave. That was his alias, and that's what I'm sticking with. And um, one moment, I've got an important message I have to respond to. This is crazy. Okay. This is an okay. So Wizard Dave was in Fruitland, was the area. He had a cabin there, and MUFON in Utah used to be led by a woman named Marlee Spinlove, and you could go, and it was like potlucks, and people would share. And I was blown away when I heard of a group of these people with MUFON went up to Wizard Dave's cabin. And they went up because Wizard Dave was allegedly in contact with some of these mantis beings there in Fruitland in the Uinta Basin of Utah. Fruitland is just west of Duchesne and at the bottom of Current Creek, more or less. Okay, so they went up to the cabin. There was a number of them, and they saw these things. They heard these things, and the clicks are what stuck with me. They heard these mantid beings allegedly clicking and clacking and walking around, and they saw one individual who was talking with them hover up in the air. A couple of them saw full mantid apparitions, actually more than a couple. It was a full blown contact experience. Um, Now, the reason that sticks with me is because of these claims by Richard Boylan that Disclosure Day is possibly coming through, well, predictive concurrent programming. And this is something Hollywood's done before. It's called Hollywood Soft Disclosure 101 in conspiracy circles. So we know that Spielberg's track record is very tight. He has Close Encounters in 1977, E.T., War of the Worlds, and now this, all legit creations. So is he answering questions from the 1977 film Close Encounters? Well, Blunt, the actress who plays that meteorologist who starts talking in this mantid language, she's hinted in interviews that this could be the case. Or is Steven Spielberg embedding real contactee phenomena or mass desensitization? Desensitization. Can't even talk today. Anyway, is he desensitizing the masses? That is what many are alleging in conspiracy circles. And it could be. It could be the truth. Now, Steven's been dropping breadcrumbs since disco was cool. So this could just be artistic work. This time, though, the breadcrumb talks back in manted Morse code, according to many people in forums, according to Dr. Richard Boylan, according to the allegations of contactees and abductees. So, Michael Schellenberger, let's talk about some real leaks here. Michael Schellenberger's November 2024 congressional testimony. He named Immaculate Constellation an algorithm, an AI. And I've always maintained that AI has a big part of NHI, if not a consequential role. And this unacknowledged special access program, Immaculate Constellation, allegedly quarantines the military's best UAP data, IR, FLIR, full motion video stills, and the Pentagon denies it exists. Yet former officials quietly confirm a data quarantine system does in fact exist. The Pentagon may be able to say this no longer exists because maybe the name's changed. Maybe the contractors have changed. There's a lot of plausible deniability that can be involved. So these fresh leaks, these multi-spectrum military IR captures that have come from the same camp Matthew Brown, Immaculate Constellation Camp, they show some very interesting things. And some of these are craft that have all sorts of different shapes, meaning that it doesn't matter. There's not one type of craft. It's not flying saucers. It's not triangles. There's ornately spiked, cruciform, cross shaped craft with radiating spikes, boomerang winged vehicles, floating cubes glowing hot on thermal, all with targeting data redacted to protect actual programs, according to insiders and whistleblowers. This is big news because these aren't tic tacs or orbs. You know, this is decent, designed, nuts and bolt craft with deliberate geometry that screams non human engineering. And I was recently watching Robert T. Bigelow talk with George Knapp. And when he was asked, have you seen these mechanisms, these mechanicals? Uh, Bigelow doesn't deny it. Okay. He doesn't deny that he's seen it. He mentions, well, that's a big word scene, you could be talking photographs or the real thing, or he kind of goes down one of those very interesting billionaire alleyways where everything is vague, but he can still discuss the topic. And he has seen these mechanical craft. So these aren't your run of the mill production studios things to do in a trailer. This is alleged to be an actual code, a Mantis Code, actual language coming through on a Hollywood trailer. So it is Hollywood soft disclosure. Maybe this is the way we get disclosure. That's what Tom DeLonge alleged. And keep this production note. There are redacted, well, let me back away from the redacted paperwork I have here. I'm not going to show that. I've had too many troubles with my electronics. Let's jump into this geopolitical trigger of Russia's space nukes and the satellite kill switch that General Stephen Whiting, the head of US Space Command, says the Kremlin could use. April 2026, US Space Command just wargamed the exact scenario, Russia detonating a nuclear ASAT weapon in low Earth orbit to fry thousands of satellites. General Stephen Whiting calls it an intolerable threat. Now, let's connect the dots. If one nuke goes off up there, global comms collapse, right? We have no communication. I got to have some coffee. Internet, GPS, banking, power grids, all linked through satellites drop. That's off the menu. Then humanity's first, what the heck is going on? WTF moment happens in real time. And I speculate that this is a perfect cover for the real show. And the real show is whatever they want to project once the sky goes dark and the internet becomes the only nervous system left. Nothing says soft disclosure like turning the entire planet into one big drive in theater for the main event. And the main event I'm talking about is Project Bluebeam, something that the Canadian researcher and conspiracist Manost brought up, where he discusses the very real belief that space agencies, intelligence organizations, and others at the helm will actually project a fake alien invasion. Now, what's interesting about this is if we have dark, nefarious elites that are projecting a fake alien invasion, and they're doing so to maintain power, what's interesting about that is if, as our vice president believes, J.D. Vance has recently said he doesn't believe these things are aliens, he believes they're demons. I don't know that he's wrong. And if the fact is that these are demons, the last thing they're going to want is for the gig to be up, for disclosure to happen, for the veil to be pulled. Because, I mean, the ultimate trick a trickster can pull is to convince you he doesn't exist in the first place. What's that famous line? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince people he didn't exist. Well, with Russia planning to put nuclear weapons in orbit now, the speculation is pretty fascinating. We got all kinds of people in the chat: Missing Time, EDP, Fearlessly, Bill Wildman. Thanks, guys. So let's get into the wild possibility. Now, I also mentioned an ancient book. Guess what else goes right along with this predictive programming of 3 days of darkness when you don't want to answer the door? That's right, it's biblical. It is an ancient text as well. So the Christian framework is important. And I'll tell you why we're not ready. If you're a Christian, you're not ready. And I'll tell you why. And scripture tells us we're not ready. I've always believed, and I've heard previous popes say, that it would be very selfish and it would be very inaccurate and it would be very limiting to God's creativity to believe that he only produced us, which is interesting, right? Not saying we aren't the the program on this planet, not saying that we are not the playing characters, not saying it's all about us. I believe it is all about us. I think humanity is made in divine form. However, the creativeness of God is something that we should not question. Are you with me? So let's get into some biblical anchors because this is important. Um, and it's part of the core thesis here. Whether the coming disclosure is actual non human intelligence, AI driven psyops, which we've discussed, or Project Bluebeam holographics is one question. But what if it's a mix? What if it's a mix of all those things? What if it doesn't matter because it's a mix of all those things and the deception is the point? The faithful will be confused. Biblical anchors: 2 Thessalonians 2 9 through 11. The coming of the lawless one with all power, signs, and lying wonders, God sends them a strong delusion. Matthew 24:24. False Christs and false prophets. We just saw that wild picture that Donald Trump posted. Will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect, even the elected officials. It says it right there. I mean, this reads like a script to a Hollywood movie. Let's go on further. Revelation 12:9 and 13:13-14. The dragon deceives the whole world. Beast performs signs to make earth dwellers worship the image. And why Christians aren't ready is because most believers have zero framework beyond aliens or little green men or, oh my gosh, these shouldn't exist. If these exist, my belief, my spirituality, and my faith is shaken. Well, that's not true. Christians, if this stuff happens, we should say, yeah, okay. And That's what we should say. We shouldn't be shocked by this. We shouldn't be worried about this. We need to set up our framework. We need to have a solid foundation. Any religion does, whether it's Abrahamic or not. So, man, it's dry. One moment. The reason Christians aren't ready is they don't have the framework beyond aliens and demons. They don't have the framework beyond don't look up, ignore it, right? Just ignore it. They don't have the framework. They have no teaching on how the deception will use technology, Hollywood priming, and a global synchronized event, possibly at the click of one laptop, one nuke, one viral live stream, and the greatest collective clamor humanity has ever experienced hits while we're all staring at the same screen. Or maybe the screen we're staring at is in the theater. Maybe we get that realization. We get programmed in the suspension of disbelief and we realize that the gig is on us. The gig is up. Disclosure's here. It's already happened. It's not only soft disclosure. If you've seen Pluribus, if you've seen, I mean, there's so many different shows right now that are pointing at the exact same thing. Uh, let's delve into some other stuff here. Man, humanity is going to see disclosure, and I think it's going to be in our lifetime. And I believe that if you don't want to know what the truth is, which a lot of people are happy being ignorant, ignorance is bliss. Nobody wants to know the truth if it hurts, right? But scripture does give us the operating manual. The clicks might be real, no pun intended. The craft might be real. The possession might be real. None of it crumbles the rock we stand on if we're secure in our faith and have our framework. So, armor up. I say get ready. Do your research. Find out about non human intelligence. Find out about artificial intelligence. Find out how they merge. Find out about transhumanism. This is our job. We live in one of the most exciting times of human existence. And we still have people that are putting their head in the sand because they don't want to deal or look at any of this. I say delve in head first, find out about it, learn, and then you won't be shaken. So Spielberg coded, let's allege, or let's go with the allegations that Steven Spielberg coded the Mantis click, that Pentagon, that this is known, that there's a message in the trailer, right? According to Dr. Richard Boylan, that's what's going on, and many other allegations by contactees and abductees. So let's just roll with it. Let's pretend for a moment. Let's use that suspension of disbelief. Let's go with the allegation that Steven Spielberg coded a message with Mantis clicks in his trailer, whether he knew he was doing it or not. Let's just roll with that. Let's roll with the fact the Pentagon hid a cruciform fleet of craft. Let's roll with the fact that Russian nukes have set the stage for a potential calamity. Let's roll with the fact that scripture already called the final act, and we know how this plays out. And let's watch the Disclosure Day trailer. Let's read 2 Thessalonians out loud. And you tell me which one feels more like prophecy or what I believe they work well together. What if the mantis click is the same frequency as the San Bushman's ancient sky visitor language? What if ancient tribes know maybe some of the language, some of the text, some of the message? What if contactees and abductees have heard this before? What if they know what the message is? Well, I say stay sharp. Keep your eyes to the skies, feet on the ground. Don't forget to take a look around. There's a lot more coming. I'm going to delve into the chat. EDP says these people in charge sure seem to be acting out the beginning of the end of times. I kind of thought it would be more organic than this. 100% EDP. You wrapped that up perfectly and put a bow on it. This is wild. I had to talk about it. Go out, go into YouTube, go wherever, and watch the trailer to Disclosure Day, and I will be back. We'll discuss this more. Love you guys. Have a very blessed day. And I hope this worked this time because everything has gone